Ladies and gentlemen, a new season of COD Mobile has arrived, which means it's time for our top 10 guns in the game. We post this every season, so if you want to be up to date, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll go ahead and hop in. The season balance changes were a little bit interesting because we did have changes to meta weapons, but they were relatively minor changes, and the majority of the big changes came to weapons that were not necessarily considered off meta, with the exception being one in the KN-44, which is our first honorable mention. The KN was already a very solid option with phenomenal accuracy, solid 3-tap potential, really good range, and all-around solid mobility, especially for an AR. The lower arm multipliers got buffed to 1.15x, and the Ranger barrel, which was one of my go-to attachments, got a horizontal recoil reduction buff from 6% up to 12%, so post-update, this thing is an absolute laser beam. Of course, our other honorable mentions will go to some off-meta options that up until recently were considered top 10, but slowly made their way out. The R9 is still an absolutely disgusting shotgun for players who are accurate and able to get the ADS down in the right scenario. The MG42 still gives me nightmares as I hear it sprayed across the map, and the Type 19, while no longer inside of our top 10, very well can compete with the rest of these options. Now, moving into our top 10, we actually have the introduction of a new weapon that is going to tie the Tundra, in my opinion, as the best snipers in the game. The new Threeline Sniper is a very interesting weapon for a couple of different reasons. Number one, its base ADS speed is actually faster than the max ADS speed on the Tundra. Keep in mind, it has the same lethal zones, although it does have a slightly slower rate of fire. Number two, it actually has attachments that increase the damage of different body multipliers, which means you can build it out to be a one-shot anywhere on the body in the first damage phase. I haven't fully tested, but I believe it can also ADS faster than any of the other weapons that are capable of one-shotting anywhere on the body, even though those attachments slow down the ADS substantially. But lastly, when you build out the Threeline Sniper for max ADS speed, it ADS is 70 ms faster than the Tundra at max speed, which is a huge difference. It does have some notable downsides in that it has worse mobility, although the majority of players are going to be rocking melees as their secondary, so mobility is not going to be as big of an issue. And for me, the most glaring difference is the fact that it has a substantially slower rate of fire, so if you're not quite as accurate, the Tundra might be a better option for you to spam out more shots. Coming in at number 9, we once again have the HS-0405 as the best shotgun in the game. This hasn't received any major changes other than the rate of fire nerf that it got a couple of seasons back, and its one-tap consistency both when hip firing and when ADSing are so good that it doesn't make that much of a difference, especially for people that are able to play it in the proper scenarios. To be honest, I'm a little bit surprised that more people haven't started rocking shotguns alongside assault rifles with the overkill meta being available, but at the same time, we've got martyrdom, which basically means you have to run flak jacket, so perk greed is kind of the better option for now. At number 8, we've got the XM4, one of the few true flex assault rifles on this list. It's a very solid all-around gun that, especially with the mythic variant, is able to dominate in a number of different scenarios, and the need for the mythic version is one of the reasons why it's not higher on the list. The base version does not have great iron sights, and it's a very attachment dependent gun, so giving up a weapon slot in order to throw on a red dot is less than ideal, but definitely still usable. The biggest thing is you need to land upper body shots in order to make it maximally effective, especially in the close to mid range, because it has that potential to 3-tap. Coming in at number 7, we once again have the BP50. It has slowly made its way down our top 10 guns list due to nerfs that it's received and also buffs and additions to other guns that have made it tougher to use in the current meta. This is another one that, had we entered into a meta where there were a lot of people running overkill, I think it could have been really effective, especially with the 30-round magazine, which effectively made it the same strength that it was prior to its biggest nerf. The 60-round variant does struggle to keep up time to kill wise because of its inconsistency 4-tapping. I think the 30-round magazine is still very viable for search and destroy because you're not focusing on as many gunfights as one time. And the 60-round variant is a very solid option for less experienced players, as those 60 rounds give you a lot more forgiveness when missing shots, especially because of how fast the gun's rate of fire is, and you don't necessarily need the mythic version because iron sights on the base are very clean. Next up at number 6, we got a long-standing option in our top 10 guns. The HVK, while difficult to master, no question, is still a top option in the game, and I'm reminded of that every time I go up against somebody who's mastered it. The combination of solid rate of fire and ridiculously high upper body damage makes the HVK one of the higher potential time to kill guns in the game, being one of the few assault rifles that is able to 2-tap to the head. It has a very achievable 3-shot when landing upper body shots, which gives it a sub 200 ms time to kill, while still being competitive when 4-shotting and having pretty solid accuracy. It doesn't have the worst iron sights in the world, although there are definitely some better options. The only real downside to this gun is the fact that it has, I believe, 28 bullets on the large caliber magazine, which means you need to be incredibly accurate in order for it to be maximally effective. Moving on to number 5, we have another long-standing option in our top 10 guns in the DRH. It very quickly made its way outside of our top 4 guns, primarily because it's strictly a worse USS-9. I will say, due to the bullet spread accuracy nerf the USS-9 received to its damaged magazine, the DRH is definitely the better long-range option now, but unlike the USS-9, it does have the potential to 4-shot to the lower body when landing lower body shots, although with the upper body multipliers being what they are, it's not going to be very consistent. It also doesn't have the potential to 2-shot to the head, although the USS did receive a headshot multiplier nerf this season. I would consider the DRH to be a flex AR and definitely one of the better all-around guns, especially given the fact that it has very good base irons and a lot of solid free-to-play and battle pass blueprints. Moving on to number 4, we have the Twotap AR King in the Odin. This is another gun that's gotten a couple minor nerfs over the past couple of seasons, but it was primarily to specific attachments and not to the gun itself. The buffs that it got quite a few seasons back to make it 2-tap more consistently with its lower arm multipliers have made this a top option in the hands of pro players and ranked warriors alike, and like a lot of the guns on this list, is really going to thrive when you're landing upper body shots. Obviously, the gun's rate of fire is one of its biggest downsides in that if you're missing shots with it, it is going to be incredibly punishing, and there are some multipliers that are ultimately going to be out of your hands, which means there are probably a lot of scenarios where you're going to end up 3-shotting even if you are super accurate. In fact, that's the reason I don't have it ahead of the number 3 option in our top 10 guns in the Type 63. I won't lie, I had been saying for a long time that I thought the Type 63 was a top 3 gun in the game, and seeing pro players slowly adopt to it and dominate with it made me feel even better. The Type 63 has completely taken the place of the SKS in our top 10 guns because it's better in just about every way. Well, not just about every way, but it's got some very dominant aspects. Unlike the SKS, the Type 63 has attachments that allow you to increase its rate of fire, which is a huge difference maker, especially in slow firing weapons like these two. It also has substantially better mobility, which is one of the big areas where the SKS struggles. And unlike the Odin, it has very consistent 2-tap when landing upper body shots, and much like the SKS, it can 1-tap to the head anywhere on the map. I have opted to take the M1 Grand off the list just because I think it's too difficult to realistically achieve maximum rate of fire with this gun. I do still think it's a very solid option, but we're taking it out of our top 10 guns just because currently I don't think there's many players that are going to be able to make this gun as usable as it would need to be a consistent top option for most players. Next up at number 2, we once again have the VMP. It was nice to see that even with an early placement in our top 10 guns, this ended up being pretty accurate to what we've seen in the competitive and ranked meta. I would say the VMP is still the best close range option of any gun in the game. The base version has phenomenal iron sights, so while the Mythic is amazing, it is far from a must-have. When you can achieve a 4-shot with it, it's one of the fastest killing guns in the game, and if you manage to master the recoil, its rate of fire is so fast that there are definitely situations in mid to long range where it can work in a pinch as well. It did get a tiny nerf this season. The only thing that was affected was its hip fire spread, so obviously some people were upset by that, but I feel like its effect is going to impact very few gunfights overall. I don't see it impacting the gun's performance in a major way. And at number 1 in our top 10 guns for, I believe, every single season that we've had in 2025, we once again have the USS-9. The gun did receive another nerf this season, although the only thing that was affected was its headshot multiplier, the implications for it meaning that you're no longer able to 2-tap in the second damage phase. While I'm happy that the gun got another nerf, this is another one of those nerfs where there's so few gunfights where there's even a realistic chance of that happening that the odds that this is going to be felt in many different gunfights across the board is slim to none. Like I said previously, the USS still outguns the DRH in pretty much every situation possible, and even with the bullet spread accuracy nerf that was given to the damage magazine, this thing still hits like a truck at pretty much every range possible. Hopefully we continue to see nerfs for this gun, as I don't know many people that are not tired of its reign of terror. But that's going to wrap things up for our top 10 guns in COD Mobile. Hope you guys enjoyed. Drop a like if you did, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.